We deserve to know what we're putting in our bodies and why, especially when it comes to something we take every day. Ritual's clean, vegan-friendly multivitamin is formulated with high-quality nutrients in bioavailable forms your body can actually use. Plus, the fresh taste and delayed release capsule design make taking your vitamins easy, which is what I love about Ritual. It makes it easy to meet your daily dose of key nutrients. Your multivitamins are delivered to your door every month with free shipping always. Get key nutrients without the BS. Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/ratchet to start your ritual today. Finding a period product that has longevity, leak protection, and is eco-friendly can be so hard. But if you want a period product that looks out for your body, your lifestyle, and the planet, you've got to try Flex. The Flex disc is a one-time use menstrual disc that fits perfectly inside your body. One Flex disc can be worn for up to 12 hours and holds as much flow as 3 super tampons. It's so easy, which I absolutely love. So say goodbye to leaks, mess, and stress, and say hello to healthy periods for people and the planet with Flex. Go to flexfits.com/ratchet and use code RATCHET for 20% off Flex Disc Starter Kits or 10% off your first Flex Cup plus free US shipping. That's code RATCHET at Flex, FLEX, fits.com/ratchet. It's the time of year when we focus on being smarter than we were before. That means losing the excess baggage of what just doesn't serve us anymore. Cricket Wireless invites you to leave behind that excess wireless bloat that locks you into paying for plan features you don't use and you don't need. Switch to Cricket Wireless and get the plan that's just right for you, starting at $30 per month. We're Cricket Wireless, and it's just how we do it. Activation and other fees and restrictions apply. Terms subject to change. See store for details. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable with Demetria L. Lucas. Last week I told you I ain't shit. I'm telling y'all this week, y'all ain't shit. I taped last week's episode with 3 glasses of wine, and all the responses have been, oh my God, you have to have 3 glasses of wine every episode. Look, y'all trying to turn me into a damn lush. I usually get up every day no later than 7. After I taped that podcast last week with all that wine, I didn't get up till 11:30. That's 2:30 on the East Coast where most of my business is done. Y'all had me missing more than half a work day. Now at 20-something, I could go out, drink all night, stumble into the house at 4 o'clock, get to work. I mean, I'm supposed to be there at 9. I'd make it by like 9:30 at the latest. I can't do that no more. That was 2 decades ago. Today, I'm drinking water. So I have some crazy shit to say, but it's going to be sober. I can't be fucking around with y'all turning into a lush at 41. Like she developed a drinking problem because of the podcast? The story just don't sound right. It don't add up. But thank you very much for listening. I saw the back end number spike and I was like, good God. Thank you. We have some more shenanigans to discuss this week and that interview that I was telling you about. Remember last week I said we were going to have an interview, but then there was so much to talk about with the Jacksons that I was just like, this is running long, so I'll save the interview. The interview was with Sister Souljah. She currently has the New York Times bestseller for her latest book, Life After Death. It is the sequel to The Coldest Winter Ever. So I got her on the phone. She's in the Middle East. She's working on her next novel, and she recently finished the screenplay for The Coldest Winter Ever, which is with the studio. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about some Black excellence. Ain't been a lot of excellence lately. I mean, we got this thing Ratchet and Respectable, but it's been a lot of ratchet lately. Between Governor Cuomo and T.I. and Mr. Jackson. I was like, is anybody respectable these days? There's a few left. Some folks are still out here acting right. Kim Jayney. She's the first Black mayor of Boston. In fact, she's the first non-white male mayor. When I heard Boston had a Black woman for a mayor, I was like, Boston? I mean, they have black people. I mean, like New Edition comes from there. There are black people in Boston, but not really as many as you would think. There was this old joke. I can't remember who said it. The joke was Boston is to white people what Atlanta is to black people. And I was like, yep, accurate. They have beautiful architecture, beautiful museums. One of my favorite museums. Gardner, really great museum. A personal art collection in, they call it a cottage. I think it's probably like 20, 30,000 square feet with this gorgeous courtyard. Oh my God. But they have, one of my favorite painters is John Singer Sargent. Keep in mind, I grew up in DC, going to the Smithsonian as my local art museum. So I'm a little skewed sometimes. And this museum in Boston has my favorite piece. Like, I literally went to Boston to see this painting in person. El Jaleo. L-E-L-Jaleo. It's a really beautiful painting. But it's in this museum. So I went to Boston to go to this museum to sit there to see this painting in person and like cry the whole 9 yards. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, Boston, Atlanta for white people. So I don't know how Kim Jayney pulled this off. She must be a bad chick. I got to go look up some more information on her. But congratulations to Kim Jayney. One of our faves, Issa Rae, she has a new partnership with Warner Media. It will give HBO Max, and Warner Brothers exclusive rights to whatever Sister Issa is working on. It's also a first look film deal that includes Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, and again, HBO Max. It's a rumored $40 million over 5 years, which I was like, girl, you better get your coins. You better get your coins, Sister Issa. I'm so happy for her. I remember working at Essence, and the young woman who sat next to me, Naima, she was the editorial assistant at the time, and she's gone on to do amazing things in film in Oakland. That's my boo. I love her. But Naima used to watch episodes of Awkward Black Girl on YouTube. And sometimes she didn't have her headphones on, which all of this is part of the job. But I don't know what episode it was, but she didn't have the headphones on. And I overheard something, and like I leaned over the cubicle and was like, what are you watching? And she was like, oh, there's this show, Awkward Black Girl, this girl, Issa Rae. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that's how I found out about, Awkward Black Girl and Issa, and, became like a devotee of all things Issa Rae. I remember Sis from YouTube, like millions of other people. Like, she gave us great content that we watched in droves, and she's just gone up and up and up and up. I'm so happy for her. She is living, I think, every creative's dream. I also read, and this was in Variety, that her production company, Hooray, they have 15 projects in various stages of development with Warner Media. So there's a lot of content coming down the pipeline. I know the upcoming season of Insecure, the 5th season, is the final one, but there's more to come when Insecure goes on to glory. So good for her. Jamie Foxx, he's also having an amazing week. He did a deal with Viacom CBS. He and his producing partner, Datari Turner. Do you follow Datari Turner on social media? I mean, he's a great, producer, clearly, but he's also, fine as fuck. Jesus. But Foxx and his producing partner, Turner, have signed a deal to develop and executive produce movies for the MTV Entertainment Group portfolio. Now, I looked up trying to see, how much that deal was worth. I know it's good money because Jamie Foxx don't come cheap. But they are focused on making films for and by Black folk and people of color with an emphasis on diverse storytelling. I trust Jamie with that. He also just won an NAACP award for his performance in Just Mercy, which was on Warner Brothers. I guess Warner Brothers really likes Black people right now. Okay. I also read somewhere he's playing Mike Tyson in a new limited series. Read somewhere. I read it in Variety. The series is simply titled Tyson. It doesn't have a network or streaming service just yet, but Antoine Fuqua is on board to direct and executive produce, and so is Martin Scorsese. So it'll be streaming somewhere big, given, Jamie Foxx, Antoine Fuqua, and Martin Scorsese. I just want to see it. I think Jamie Foxx would do an amazing Mike Tyson. Jamie Foxx can act his ass off. I loves him. I know people who know him and they're like, actually, he's a really nice guy. Which I love to hear. Because sometimes you'd be like, oh my God, I love so-and-so. And they'd be like, yeah, fuck them. They're horrible. I have that story about, never mind. We're not going to be messy today. See? That's why y'all like me to have that 3 glasses of wine. Because the 3 glasses of wine, I would have told the story. I still got to work in this town, goddammit. Last but certainly not least, FX announced that Snowfall is being picked up for a 5th season. Snowfall is currently my favorite show on television. It is wild right now. I'm absolutely convinced that one of my favorite characters is not going to make it through the season. There's no way that Unc, the daddy, Man-Boy, and Leon, one of the 4 is not making it through this season. At least 2 of the 4 are gone if Snowfall goes into a 5th season. Ugh, my nerves are so bad watching that damn show. Leon picked up a whole damn table last night and I was like, bruh, I feel how you feel. We deserve to know what we're putting in our bodies and why, especially when it comes to something we take every day. Ritual's clean, vegan-friendly multivitamin is formulated with high-quality nutrients in bioavailable forms your body can actually use. What you won't find? Sugars, GMOs, major allergens, synthetic fillers, and artificial colorants. Plus, the fresh taste and delayed release capsule design make taking your vitamins easy, which is what I love about Ritual. It makes it easy to meet your daily dose of key nutrients. Ritual makes healthy habits easy. Your multivitamins are delivered to your door every month with free shipping always. You can start, snooze, or cancel your subscription anytime. And if you don't love Ritual within your first month, they'll refund you your first order. Get key nutrients without the BS. Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/ratchet to start your ritual today. Finding a period product that has longevity, leak protection, and is eco-friendly can be so hard. But if you want a period product that looks out for your body, your lifestyle, and the planet, you've got to try Flex. Flex is innovating period care with products that are body safe, made for comfort, and made to keep you moving. The Flex disc is a one-time use menstrual disc that fits perfectly inside your body. One Flex disc can be worn for up to 12 hours and holds as much flow as 3 super tampons. Now, it's not a cup. It's unlike any other period product that you've seen before. And it looks exactly like what it sounds like a disc that collects menses rather than absorbs. It's so easy, which I absolutely love. So say goodbye to leaks, mess, and stress, and say hello to healthy periods for people and the planet with Flex. Go to flexfits.com/ratchet and use code RATCHET for 20% off Flex Disc Starter Kits or 10% off your first Flex Cup plus free US shipping. That's code RATCHET at Flex, FLEX, fits.com/ratchet. We need to talk about the shit show that are the Jacksons that are consuming the internet right now. Last week we spoke about Derrick Jaxson, relationship expert, who was outed as, I almost called him an infidel, who was outed for repeated infidelity during his 4-year marriage, 12-year relationship with his wife, Tasha K, who again, Tasha K, I love you. I am a heathen, Tasha K. Don't come for me. Folks are fine with a good heathen. It's when you start talking one way and living another way, people don't like that. People can't tolerate that. But if you just get up and be like, look, I'm a goddamn heathen. I'm full of shit. I be acting a fool. I'm messy. I'm petty. People be like, well, let God work on you. I read that this whole thing with Derrick Jaxson started because Tasha asked for an interview and he declined. After he declined, he did some video about her, and then she started digging in his shit. I don't know how true that is. And I was like, see, that's why I be like, Tasha K, girl, I ain't got no problems with you. So ain't no need for you to go digging in my shit, Tasha K. That's not the point. The point is, since Tasha K She don't spill no tea. They drink wine over there. She calls her audience the winos. But ever since Tasha K came out with this information, this first round of information, Derrick Jaxson released a video with his wife. We talked about that last week. And there's been a series of videos. The Jacksons, both of them, they are out here looking like full clowns on the daily circus that is the internet. Some folks get real caught up in the reality that is social media. And I feel like that's what's happening to the Jacksons right now. Sir, Mr. Jaxson, after being outed for cheating on his wife multiple times and then being forced to publicly apologize in the third person, which was weird, he's now doing split screen videos of his current self talking to his former self when he was previously giving advice to women about men who cheat. And he's talking to himself in the third person. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's also hard body pushing some new book about healing and marriage. And I'm like, people do need books about healing and marriage, but like, can you go heal first? Because you're not healed, clearly. Your wife is out here looking fucking nuts. And I'm not just talking about the bonnet and no brassiere. Like, she's a mess, as most women would be in these circumstances. And I know that, every major media platform, especially black media platform, like the Griots talking about him, Essence talking about him, Very Smart Brothers, Damon wrote something about him and was like, shutting the fuck up is actually an option. And I was like, yo, this is why me and Dame are friends. Panama said about the same thing and was like, yo, like these social media accounts, like can someone disable their account? Can they put them in Facebook jail? Like save them from themselves. And I was like, this is why I love both of y'all. I've known both of them for like a decade, but this is why I love y'all. This is why we're friends. Y'all got good sense. But he's hawking this book about healing when he and his wife are very, very, very clearly unhealed. I'm like, y'all saying y'all good. You tried to cut off each other's circulation on video. You said that you're good. You said that you moved on. Your actions say otherwise. So on top of the shenanigans from last week, right? Tasha K last night, Wednesday night, Tasha K has a new interview with a new mistress who got receipts from earlier this month of Mr. Jaxson talking about like, it's not what it seems. Be patient. I'm coming up to your job. I have to see you. Let's talk about this. This woman says she was pregnant with his baby. She had an abortion. What? I don't know if it's her or one of the other mistresses. There's at least 3 that have come forward at this point. One of the other mistresses posted some screenshots of videos he did. And she was like, yeah, he's sitting in his car outside my house while he's giving y'all dating and relationship advice. Nigga, what? Tasha said the woman had more to share, but Mr. Jackson's attorneys had hit the lady with a gag order, which I was like, is that accurate? Maybe a cease and desist, because you need a judge for a gag order. And if he hit her with an NDA, he probably have to pay her to sign it. I went through a gag order situation. Redacted thought I was going to get on the internet and blast him and tell what he did, which I told him I wouldn't do. He has children. I don't want his children to know that about their father. But yeah, I was like, I'm not really sure. Like, she said there was a gag order, but I was like, that doesn't really seem right to me. Maybe that was a turn of phrase. Because Tasha been consistent with her information. Can a lawyer explain that to me? I know there's lawyers listening because there are neurosurgeons listening. There's also members of Congress listening, which I was like, really? Apparently a lot of people really like Ratchet and Respectable. I would say who knew, but I started the podcast because I thought there might be many who shared my duality. So if there's an attorney that can explain how a gag order works, just slide in my DMs and let me know what that process is, because I'm just curious. And then there's Mrs. Jaxson. She has released a series of videos defending her appearance, defending her man, her husband, defending her marriage and her choice to stay within it, which, is her choice, I feel so bad for her. I feel really, really bad for her. Her husband is a whole whore. But Mrs. Jaxson doesn't want to leave her marriage. She doesn't want to leave her husband, which, is complicated. The person you took vows with, the person you've been with, I think since she was a teenager. This person who is pledged to love and protect and provide and cover you has also now betrayed you multiple times. It's a national news story at this point. Like, the person you would usually run to when you are in crisis is the person that has caused the crisis. It's very complicated, which is why I feel so bad for her. They have kids together, at least one kid. She loves him as she should. It's her husband, even if he goes and does dumb shit. Like, it's not like just love dissolves in a day. But I also want to tell sis, like, you got to love yourself too. A lot of people get caught up in their feelings. Remember Ricky Lake? When I was in college, Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer were hugely, hugely popular. And it was this running joke about these women who would come on Springer and go on Ricky Lake. And these men would be like Mr. Jaxson. They would be whole hoes. And Ricky and Jerry would always ask the women, like, why do you put up with this? Like, he's sleeping with your best friend and your sister and your mother, and he hit on your daughter. Why are you with this man? And the women would always be like, 'cause I love him. And I remember even being like 19 and 20 years old and looking at those women and just being like, good Lord, if I ever get so caught up in a man who I'm just so in love with, if somebody asks me, why are you there? Even if it's 'cause I love him, I will never say that shit out loud. I'll just say, 'cause I want to be here. I'll just say, 'cause my self-esteem is low and I don't think I can do better. Which is also sad, but it sounds less pathetic than 'cause I love him. Love yourself too. Love yourself too. It's equally as important as loving someone else. And in fact, I'm not really quite sure you can fully love someone else when you don't love yourself. And in fairness to Mrs. Jaxson, a lot of women stay with men who cheat, broke men who cheat, ugly men who cheat. But I also think it's worth noting that a lot of women pack up the cat and the house and get the fuck out. Like, we always talk about, like, well, women stay, women forgive. Yeah, a lot of women don't stay, and a lot of women forgive and leave. 70% of divorces are initiated by women. It's a lot of women who say, fuck this shit, I deserve better, I'm out. We don't really talk about them too often. We like to encourage women to stay. I saw some meme recently that was like, his wife is a strong Christian woman for standing by her man, something like that. And I was like, when have you ever seen a meme or anything praising a man for staying with a woman who cheated? Like, when have you ever seen a man sitting there holding his wife's hand when she sits there confessing to cheating on him? A couple people brought up Will and Jada on the Red Table Talk. Will showed up looking either like he'd cried his eyes out all the night before and the morning of, or high as shit. Maybe both. But Will didn't sit there looking like a loving, adoring husband giving Jada absolution for her actions. Because Jada tried to sit up there and been like, I was involved as like a 40-some-odd-year-old woman in an entanglement with like a 25-year-old, and Will challenged her and was like, what, an entanglement? What's that? What are you referring to? An entanglement? Oh, is that what we're calling it? He didn't absolve her. He got up there. Will was like, nah, we were separated. I was done with you. I had no plans to get back with you. That's not the same as what so many of these wives do when they get up here with these ministers and these politicians who are their husbands who have cheated on them. But Mrs. Jaxson, the series of videos, and I couldn't get through them. They're so damn sad. I was being facetious last week about her appearance on the video, and I was like, sis was probably in the war room praying for her damn husband to gain some common sense and control his dick. But I was joking she was in the war room, but I was like, nah, sis really be on that war room shit. The first video she did, she was responding to the public who was talking about her appearance and people who were saying that she should leave her marriage and criticizing her husband, who is a great orator. And I was like, yeah, I mean, he uses the King's English and forms a decent sentence, but an orator? See, there's some delusions of grandeur going on here too. But she got on this video and she was like, y'all are saying all these things, but I just want you to know no weapons formed against me shall prosper. Honey, sis, the weapon is your husband's dick that he keeps sticking in every open hole. It's not the goddamn people on the internet. The internet can be a horrible, terrible, judgmental place. This is one of the few times when everyone is trying to come together to save this woman. 95% of us are aligned. You in danger, girl. You need to go. No weapons formed against me will prosper. Your husband is the weapon that's keeping you from prospering, sis. It's not the other women. It's not the naysayers. It's not Tasha K. I mean, she put the business out there, but if he wasn't cheating, there wouldn't be no cheating story to tell. Sis, I know you want to stay in your marriage. I know you're trying to find ways to justify your decision and deal with the trauma, the weapon that your husband has brought into your marriage that is keeping it from prospering. You're trying to find a way to be there. You're trying to find something to cling to help you make sense of all the crazy shit that you are in because of your husband's behavior. And you've turned to religion, it seems. Because there was another video, which I was like, girl, she had on a bonnet and she had on a camouflage shirt. And she did this video. What did she call it? She said her hat was, what did she call it? She said her hat was a helmet of salvation. So I was like, sis.
You see a bonnet, I see the helmet of salvation. You see an army green shirt, I see the breastplate of righteousness.
No, sis, no. You picked up some shit from the army surplus store. You not at war. It's a beret that looks like a bonnet and a thermal t-shirt, sis. Sometimes folks like to think, Candace Bimbo talked about this on her page. Sometimes folks think that they're experiencing a spiritual war. There's some persecution happening and they got to fight this battle and win favor with God. No, sometimes you just did some dumb shit and it catches up with them. And you have to pay what Lauryn Hill once called the demands of bad decisions. That's it. You're not being persecuted. Your husband's wayward dick has been in too much random pussy. And now he's paying the consequences for the dumb shit he did. It ain't spiritual warfare. God ain't persecuting you. Your husband did some dumb shit. Fucked up your lives and fucked up your marriage. And I understand the desire to cling to religion when you in a bad place. I was on here last week talking about marching up and down hills, listening to gospel music nonstop, on the treadmill, crying at the gym, listening to gospel music nonstop. I get it. There's comfort and healing in turning to religion. But when you take it that extra step and you start using religion to justify dumb shit, you trying to put God in an ungodly place. God ain't make your husband's dick go in them women. That clown car of women. My God, how many women are going to come forward? It's only been a week. That ain't got nothing to do with God. And we've seen versions of this before, just not to this extreme. With Reverend Gray, who was the internet's favorite fuckboy before Mr. Jackson shit popped off. When Mr. Gray was going through his first infidelity scandal that the public knew about, Mrs. Gray defended him against Mr. Jackson, oddly enough. She also got on the stage. I don't know if it was at church, but it was a stage and there was a microphone. And she explained away her husband's infidelity. She said there was an enemy attacking her marriage. There was this strange woman coming into her marriage. Wasn't a stranger to your husband because he was calling her. He knew who she was. You didn't know. He knew. There wasn't an enemy attacking your marriage. The enemy is within. She says some other crazy shit, just twisting all manner of religious doctrine. Like, I am his wife and I come from his rib, and rib means rest and brokenness. And I'm not making that shit up. You can Google rest and brokenness. That's a quote. I know where the woman, the wife comes from the rib. That's in Genesis. I don't go to church on a regular basis, but I know the basics. I know Adam and his rib, and that's how we got Eve and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, sis, quote me the passage on rest and brokenness. I ain't never heard that one before. Is that biblical or that's some shit you made up? But we've seen this before. And again, that was the first time he did that shit. He bought a Lambo truck trying to save that marriage, and she stayed. And you know what the fuck he did? Turned around less than 2 years later on video involving his son to talk to his mistress, have the boy denigrating his mama for not cooking. He on video in the middle of a global pandemic telling some woman he want to fly her to Cabo on a private jet. Talking about he gonna make biscuit and beans and what other side she want to eat. And got a whole wife at home. What Mrs. Jackson don't know, Mr. Jackson ain't done with his shenanigans. He's using this crisis, because that's what it is. You get publicly exposed for cheating with multiple women, even if you weren't a relationship expert. It looks bad. We had a president impeached for this shit. But it's the middle of a crisis, and he's using it as a marketing opportunity. He can't make a video without talking about his new book. He's doing these bizarre videos, the one I mentioned before about the split screen. He's talking about himself in the third person. He's loving this shit. Everyone's talking about him, good, bad, or indifferent. He's clearly on some all press is good press shit. He's using the crisis in this marriage as an opportunity to make more money. That's not the type of man who feels bad about what he's done and is going to sit down, act right, and be a better husband. This woman's out here sounding like she's in a cult. And last week I asked, I said, where are her friends? Where's her mama? Where's her sister? Where are her big cousins? She ain't got no sorors. She ain't got no college roommates. She ain't got nobody. And somebody pointed out to me and was like, sis, she sounds like she's in a cult. Who you think recruited her into it? Her mama, her sisters, her friends, they might be on that same shit. Or she's alienated them because she's so deep in this, religious chicanery. But Mr. Jackson is out here acting like a graduate from the C.L. Franklin School of Fuckery. Sis, you think what he just did is bad? I promise you, he ain't done. When I was growing up, my auntie used to tell me a smart woman knows a little bit about a lot of things. Now listen to my auntie. One thing I know a little bit about is niggas and nigga shit. Mr. Jackson ain't no master teacher. That's a nigga. And he ain't done with his niggatry yet. You stand by him through this foolishness, it's about to get real crazy, sis. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We've seen it before. You trying to hold on to a man who wants to fuck other women, evidenced by the fact that he's fucking so many other women. We got exhibit A, B, and C already. It's been a week. He gonna fuck around and do Cosby numbers, have 54 women coming out the woodwork. At least he ain't raping them. I'll give him that. Everybody seems to be of age and consenting. He just a hoe. Whew. Somebody tell little sis, can't keep no man that don't want to be capped. And this shit ain't gonna end well for you. You can have all the religious fervor. You can pray as much as you want. God can't change people who want to change. You having a whole war room meltdown. Meanwhile, he's marketing books. Sis. The whole internet is trying to save you from yourself and your narcissistic husband. Those who don't listen must feel. You think you in hell now, sis? Just wait. Wait till what's next. You ain't seen shit yet. I know nigga shit. And just to clarify, when I say nigga shit, I'm not talking about all men. I'm not even specifically talking about black men. I'll call anybody a nigga if they doing nigga shit. I have called many a white man a nigga on this show. Everybody can get it. I'm equal opportunity. I feel so bad for that woman. And then folks are clowning her. Be like, well, yeah, see why he cheated? Because she married. She was cute. Now she don't keep herself together. No wonder he's wandering the streets. If you got married and you're not happy, your person's not doing it for you. They're not keeping themselves together. For whatever reason, you have the option to leave. Cheating and dragging them through the mud and treating them like shit and betraying them and lying to them and all of those things that come along with infidelity. No. You have the option to go. You have the option to say, I'm not happy and this is what I need from you. You give the other person an opportunity or a chance to fix the thing that's an issue for you. But just to treat them the way Mr. Jackson is treating his wife? No. The bonnet, the no brassiere. It's not a reason to cheat on somebody. That's not a reason to cheat on your wife. I feel so bad for her. Jesus. Like what you've been listening to? We do too. Here's more to make you smile. When you sign up for a $60 voice plan with Cricket Wireless, you don't get a plan without a phone. You get a Nokia C2 Teva for free. You get network and coverage that stacks up quite fine. What you don't get, you get no gimmicks, no funny stuff, no bait and switch, no OS more later. We're Cricket Wireless, and it's just how we do it. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month voice plan. First month service charge and tax due at sale. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See store for details. Sometimes I just don't have the time or energy to cook, especially something healthy. I've got this podcast, I've got writing assignments, I've got merch that has to ship. There's a lot going on. But honestly, I don't feel great when I end up eating takeout for almost every meal. This all changed once I found Daily Harvest. No need to overthink any of your meals for the week with Daily Harvest. Smoothies for breakfast, crisp flatbreads for lunch or dinner, and food that is perfect for cooler weather, like their perfectly roasted harvest bowls and soups. I'm obsessing over this new beet and wild rice harvest bowl. Daily Harvest is undeniably delicious, clean food without the prep. Get started today. Go to dailyharvest.com and enter promo code RESPECTABLE to get $25 off your first box. That's promo code RESPECTABLE for $25 off your first box at dailyharvest.com. dailyharvest.com. Hot take. Your bank account should work with you, not against you. Chime is an award-winning app and debit card with no hidden fees or monthly minimums. After all, you earned your money. You deserve to keep it. With Chime, get your paycheck, benefits, stimmy check, and tax return up to 2 days earlier with direct deposit. They have no hidden fees or monthly minimums. I love Chime's transparency. I hate when companies charge you with hidden fees. Chime also has great security. You can turn on alerts to let you know every time your card is used and instantly block your card if something seems fishy. Join the millions on Chime. Sign up takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Apply now at chime.com/ratchet. That's chime.com/ratchet. Chime is a financial technology company. Banking services provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank North America. Members FDIC. Eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases. Limits start at $20 and may be increased up to $100 by Chime. Early direct deposit depends on the payer. Out-of-network cash withdrawal fees apply. Third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Go to chime.com/ratchet for details. In other news, I'm excited to share this interview with you. Last week, I spoke to Sister Souljah about many things, but including her latest book, Life After Death, which again is #1 on 2 New York Times bestsellers lists right now. I heard through the grapevine that she sold something like 80 or 90,000 copies in the first week, which I was like, Jesus, that's some big folks. That's their whole book run. And I also have to tell you this. I rarely get nervous during interviews, but I started this interview with Sister Souljah and we got like a minute through and I had to stop and apologize because I was so flustered and I just had to level with her. And I was like, look, I grew up on you. And I had to tell her that because I was like, otherwise I can't get through this interview without totally fanning out. So like now that I've said that, now we can have a normal interview. And she was like, thank you. Let's do that. And then we had a great interview. But I was totally freaked out. Like Sister Souljah was everything to me. And even this interview, actually, you know what? I'll let you hear it. And then I'll see if you had the same takeaways that I did. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Sister Souljah to Ratchet and Respectable. Good morning. How are you? Is it morning where you are? I don't know where you're based these days.
Right now, I'm in the Middle East, and it is nighttime. It's about 9 p.m.
What are you doing, seeing, enjoying in the Middle East right now?
What I'm doing here is I actually chose this location to do some research and some writing in. Most of my readers who read my novels know I have a character named Midnight, and he comes from this region of the world. And so initially, when I first came over, I was looking to do research. Also, I was looking to finish writing, which became a rewrite of the film script for The Coldest Winter Ever. And while I was writing the film script, I had the opportunity to do a book deal for the sequel to The Coldest Winter Ever. So I've been over here working.
Congratulations on everything. You're having definitely an amazing week. 2 New York Times bestseller lists this week. That's amazing.
Interesting and adventurous.
Yes.
To say
yes.
the least. Okay.
I'm very usually not nervous about things. I've been a fan of yours for over 20 years. I know you before you were an author. You've always been a writer since you were a teenager. I know that. But I remember you as an activist, like seeing you as a very young girl, like 12 or 13, and seeing your side ponytail and your baby hairs and your hoop earrings and your soft but powerful voice and the way you commanded attention really left a great impression on me as a young woman. So I don't usually get nervous in interviews, but I'm a wee bit nervous today talking.
Well, thank you so much for the nice things you're saying about me of the past. And don't be nervous, because anybody who really knows me knows that I am just so regular in the conversation. Like, I'm not trying to impress anyone, and I hope no one's trying to impress me. And I hope that we just talk some real talk, you know.
Good. Now that I've got that part out the way, I think I'm good.
Okay, good.
For people who haven't picked up your book yet, what should readers expect from life after death?
Readers should expect the voice, the mentality, the soul, the spirit of Winter Souljah that they grew to love from The Coldest Winter Ever. And obviously, she, like everybody, including the readers, is older than she was in Coldest Winter Ever, which she was 16 to 18 in that storytelling. In this storytelling, she has served a 15-year sentence, a prison sentence. And so she's older. But a lot of times when somebody has been incarcerated, they feel almost like time stopped, you know. So in Life After Death, she says she doesn't feel a day over 19. And you can hear, you know, her same way of thinking and moving, and her same goals and desires and passion.
It's been 22 years, definitely, since the last book. And over that time, people have created their own ideas of what should happen next with Winter. And they're expecting one thing and they may get another thing. What do you say to people who are like, you know, this is not what I signed up for? Like, I wanted this kind of book.
An author creates characters, and the author is in control of the pen and the storytelling. If people want to hear stories that they want to hear, that they expect, and that they enjoy, they should write them. But the fact is, I wrote the character Winter Souljah and Midnight and Lana and Ricky Souljah and Porsche and Elijah Emmanuel. I've written 6 novels that grew out of the story of The Coldest Winter Ever. And so I am adding life after death to that storytelling. Love it or not, I'm the author. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Was there pressure to duplicate the success of Coldest Winter Ever? Like when you got the New York Times numbers back, did you like breathe a sigh of relief? Or is that not something you think about?
I don't think about it at all. When I am writing, I am only trying to fulfill my purpose and to please God. That's it. So I wrote The Coldest Winter Ever as a cautionary tale, because when I was young, I was quite frightened of the drug culture in the New York projects. I was frightened by the impact of the drugs. I would see a young teenage girl who I looked up to, who I thought was pretty and wished, I would grow up to look similar. And then a year later, she would be unrecognizable to me because she was using that heroin, So I saw men lose their families to addiction. And when I wrote The Coldest Winter Ever, I wrote it as a warning, I think that probably where the mix-up occurred was that because I am close to the people, I'm close to my people, I'm close to the hood, I wrote it in such a way that it felt like, like 100% authentic. And for some people, it made them think, like I was from that hustling life, or I was about that life, but I never was. The reason why The Coldest Winter Ever started off with Winter Souljah saying she hates Sister Souljah was so that I could distinguish her voice, her life, her experiences from my own. I didn't want the community to get confused between fiction and nonfiction, and a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. One day I was parked on 125th Street in Harlem. A guy came up and knocked on my window. I let the window down, and he said, "Hey," and he talked about how he had served time in prison with my father. The man that he served time with in prison either told him or he believed that man was Ricky Santiago. I didn't interrupt him because he was going on about it quite passionately. And then when he was finished, I said, "My father is a janitor who works in a strip mall in the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. I'm not from Brooklyn. My father was not a hustler." And so that kind of blew him away. So I knew from the beginning that it was important to establish the difference between the main character, Winter, and the super duper minor character, Sister Souljah. And I thought that that was a metaphor for real life anyway, because the popular people are like pop culture, they're like mainstream. And then the activist person is like somebody, who either gets ignored or who aggravates people because she reminds them of what we all should be responsible for. They're two different things. Winter, Santiago, and Souljah. I take it as a compliment that people are so aggressive about The Coldest Winter Ever. It means that I really wrote that story good because now people are saying, she didn't write it. In one side, it's hilarious. On the other side, I feel sorry for anybody who says that because, I don't know, it sounds like an attack of jealousy or envy. But I wrote The Coldest Winter Ever, and then I wrote Midnight, a Gangster Love Story, and then I wrote A Deeper Love Inside, and then I wrote Midnight and the Meaning of Love.
And then
I wrote A Moment of Silence, Midnight 3. And now I have written Life After Death. And they've all come from my soul, from my pen, from my imagination, from my mind, from my heart. And I dare anybody to prove me wrong.
I imagine that for the last 20 years, the public, your publisher, have been pushing you to do a sequel to Coldest Winter Ever. And clearly you've resisted because we're not getting one until you were ready to do it, or the story was ready to do it. You can tell me which one. But what I'm really interested in is your ability and your comfort with saying no. because it's something that a lot of women struggle with. And I think there's other writers who would have thought, like, I've got this best-selling book, I've got to do a sequel immediately. Everyone's pressuring me. This is what people want from me. And you were like, no, you're going to get it, when the story is ready to be told. And I'll tell you some other stories in the meantime.
Well, I tell you, there are different components that make up a woman and different components that make up a man. I think the first thing that's important is faith, right? What you believe. Once you decide that you are a believer, you humble yourself before God. And once you humble yourself before God in prayer, you put everything gets put in the right order. Why should I be pleasing you? I should be pleasing God. Why should I be pleasing the public? Or why should I be pleasing the politics? The reason why I was able to be such the kind of activist that I was and am is because I knew that the people in power are not God. So now if you mess up the faith thing, meaning you're confused, you can't figure out what you believe, you don't believe in anything, or you consider yourself one who neither believes or disbelieves, any of those kind of murky categories, you're already admitting that you don't know who you're supposed to please. So I believe that there is one maker of all souls, and that's who I am supposed to please. So I don't have to worry about the noise. I don't have to worry about what anybody else expects or what anybody else wants. I just have to stay on my path. And my path in novels started with The Coldest Winter Ever and me wanting to send a warning to the world about the insidious impact of narcotics on our people.
You have a very peaceful describe, like you're not easily shifted, you're not easily rattled. It seems like you're very secure in your sense of self. Have you always been that way?
I think so. I think this is just how God made me. That's what I really believe. I think when we're really young, we give thanks in all of the wrong places, I may have thought, well, I'm smart because I read these books, or, I'm in the special class with the advanced kids because I'm smart and because I study. I really think ultimately the first thanks and the first appreciation and gratitude and all of that goes to God, to Allah. Unlike an author, God writes the story of each of our lives. So imagine you're an author, you're just trying to get your little cast of characters straight. You can't even imagine the mind of God. You can't even imagine the soul of God. How could you? How can you imagine a power so awesome to be able to write our destiny of each person, to be able to speak into the soul of each person, billions of people, and to make each person feel that they have a private relationship with you? That's what I consider awesome. So if you go back and read my books, starting with The Coldest Winter Ever, each book is like a prayer. Each one. It's almost like the author is begging you to see the truth woven into the pages, begging you, praying for you each time. And that's starting with the Coldest Winter Ever. But, I can write a book and maybe 1 million people will buy it. Thankfully, I'm grateful for that. But maybe 900,000 of them won't even get the point. Or maybe they will, but 30 years later. I can't even be mad at that because that's how it is. Whenever you are a person trying to deliver a message of truth, it's not popular. Because in order for people to embrace it, they have to learn, grow, and change. And most people don't like change. Most people just want to stay the same. And that's why you can hear a chorus of readers 22 years later wanting the same story. I'm not going to give you the same story. I'm not going to give you the Coldest Winter Ever remixed, but I'm going to give you Winter Santiago. And I'm going to give you Ricky Santiago after they've been through some things. Now, to me, people who don't understand that are very naive because we all have been through some things after we have lived more than 21 years, haven't we? Imagine going through everything that you've gone through personally and not changing. Whoa.
When you put it like that.
Imagine that,
Do you think your message has been received from your books?
I think it has by many people. And like I said, there's not only one message. I write my storytelling is in layers. I call it multidimensional storytelling. So maybe you got one message and you didn't get the other one. Maybe something resonated with you and something else didn't. You just left that alone. And guess what? It's all good. I don't mind what jewel you pluck from those pages. I'm just praying that you pluck at least one.
In announcing this new book, you talked about taking a moment of silence to write this book. And that's also the title of a previous novel that you wrote. Can you talk to me about the importance of, as a woman especially, of sitting still? I think in many ways you are a testament to doing the work, letting the work speak for itself. Because like we see you when you have a book to drop or when you have a project or when you want us to see you. But otherwise, like you're not, one of those people that's on social media all the time or that's, to be seen, to be heard, just talking to be talking. You're very comfortable in silence.
I think silence is a luxury, right? Because the way the country is set up, the way the United States is set up, and not only the United States, but that's where I'm from, and that's where I was born, and that's where I live. Everybody has to work. And most people have, working class or low middle class jobs, employment, and don't even have the time for silence. Or don't even have the time to sit still. There are not many jobs that will pay you to sit still or to be silent. So I recognize that silence is a luxury in the American lifestyle. I don't take it lightly. I'm very, very grateful to be an author because it is the kind of profession where you get to enjoy the luxury of silence. And inside of that silence is your soul and your thoughts and your imaginings. So I actually said I was taking a moment of silence at the end of 2015. And in the beginning of the book, A Moment of Silence, Midnight 3, I had a poem. I always have an opening poem before the storytelling starts. And it called for each of us to take a moment of silence to self-reflect. And so I took it seriously. I wrote it because I believed it. And I felt it, and I felt it was necessary. I felt it was necessary not only for me, but for everybody. I thought it was necessary for individuals and for the collective. I thought it was necessary for the cities, the states, and for the country. So I actually did it because I thought it was necessary. And what it did for me is just a cleanser. I guess that's a good way to put it. A clarifier, a straightener. That's what being silent and being able to sit still does. It puts your thoughts in the right order. So instead of you just reacting to stimulus, or to a stimulant, or reacting to your job and your fifth cup of coffee, and caffeine is racing around your blood, or sugar, or whatever it is. Sitting still and kind of humbling yourself and staying quiet, I think, is important. I think I went on record quite a while back as saying that I think taking multiple pictures of yourself, being overly fascinated with yourself, being in love and enamored with yourself, I think that is a form of mental illness. When the stick came out, where people were putting their cell phones on the end of the stick and walking around filming themselves, talking to themselves, taking several photographs of themselves, I thought that was extreme. And, I've always had, a very good cell phone to be able to conduct business with. But I have never taken one selfie. I have never, ever pointed the camera of my cell phone at myself and clicked it. Now, I have nieces, young women, who back then were even younger. I could go into my niece's bedroom. She'd have no less than 200 photos of herself on the wall. I thought this was a problem. But if you mention it to people, they think you're the problem because it's popular. It's what everybody's doing. I come from an era where I was in love with the idea of privacy, not having to tell everybody my business or my mother's business or my father's business or whatever have you. And now, people go on Facebook and, they'll give birth on Facebook.
Literally. I've seen it. Yes.
People commit suicide on Facebook. Yeah. It's, for me, it's very unsettling. So there are people who, as a component of this mental illness, cannot even be happy unless somebody is watching them do what they're doing. This is a huge problem because when you're by yourself in a room, there should be some happiness in your soul. And if there isn't, the more stuff you need to bring into that room in order to get happy, the more trouble you're in. So within my moment of silence, I just confirmed some of the things I already thought some new things as well, wrote a whole lot of different things as well, got better in making my prayers, read a lot of books, saw a lot of films, very unique kind of films, and, was quite content, quite grateful.
We hear you enough for you, obviously. You set your boundaries where you do. But I miss your voice. I miss you being a very present, very vocal public figure. And I think your voice is as necessary now, if not even more so than it was then. Is there ever a chance that you would return back to being a very public activist?
I think things happen in a certain way that they're supposed to happen. I didn't plan, I'm going to be this powerful activist. It's kind of like I was just living my life doing what I thought my purpose was. And then the media encountered me,
Mm-hmm.
They shine the spotlight on me. I really was quite surprised. I mean, even some of the biggest media that I've had, being on the cover of Newsweek and being in the centerfold of Time and Jet and Ebony and Rolling Stone, and all of it was quite shocking to me. Really it was. So I can't even tell you, I had this dope publicist and she got me in all the magazines, because that's not even how it happened. I mean, it was kind of like I was just doing what I do, organizing young people, doing programs, and just doing what I do. And the media discovered me. And when they did, they blew it way, way, way out of proportion. So the kind of interesting thing that happened there was when the camera came on and the microphone clicked on, I kept saying the things I was already saying in my community. I kept doing the things I was already doing in my community. And that's kind of what shocked the world, because people have a camera face, people have a media mug, people have a polite speech or a politically correct thing that they do when the camera comes on. For some people, the camera is an intoxicator. For others, the camera is an intimidator. But, when I was young, I saw films of Malcolm X. I thought he was the most beautiful man I ever saw and the most beautiful man in the world. And he wasn't even alive. These were films that I saw from archives when I was a young lady. And I just told myself when I saw those films, if you ever get the chance to speak on the microphone or to be in front of the camera, you better say a mighty true word like this man. This man is glowing on the films. He's not even present in the world as we know it anymore. He's glowing on the films. He's speaking truth that's making me get the chills. And I'm a young girl in the library watching it in the basement where they have the films archived. So, yeah, I did promise myself, there have been certain things that I've promised myself when I was growing up. And that was one of the things. I'm not going to get on the microphone and be a fool. I'm not going to get on the camera and be a clown. I was not born to entertain the world. What I want to be is a truth teller.
You realize that the same way that you looked at Malcolm X and you saw those videos as a young woman is very much the same way that so many young women looked at you?
Eddie Murphy in his movie Coming to America, he had that word that I think was so on point or apropos. He had that word, that term, soul glow. So when you see somebody and they're glowing, you're seeing the light of God from their soul coming through their eyes and through the pores of their skin. And that's what it is. Now, here's another way to look at it. If you see me or you saw me and you thought I was glowing, my only problem with that means that I'm standing out for simply doing what I'm supposed to do. So that means if I'm standing out, it's only because there are millions of people not doing what they are supposed to do. So if you see one person glowing, it means that you also should be glowing. But the reason why you're not glowing is because you're not fulfilling the purpose of your soul. And when you do, you will glow too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have 2 more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned at the top of this interview that there was a screenplay for Coldest Winter Ever.
Yes.
People have been asking for that film. You know, because they ask you.
Right.
Is it going to happen?
I believe that it is. I just believe that the film version of The Coldest Winter Ever is really like the story of my whole life. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. It's really out of my hands. You know, I wrote the book. I wrote the screenplay. And, you know, that was in my hands. Making a movie is a team thing. Writing a book is an individual thing. No one interferes when I'm writing a book. No one adds one word to the story or my pages or anything. But when it comes to a film, you have so many people sitting around the table. You have contracts as thick as a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have investors, you have producers. You just have so much going on. And to get that synergy to the point where you are ready to now go into production is not an easy task because there's so many people at the table. And it's also not an easy task because I don't want to be treated customarily. Like this is Hollywood. This is how we do it. And I'm like, no, I'm Souljah. This is how I do it. We got to find a middle ground.
A middle ground. I know that you handpicked Nia Long to do the audio for Life After Death. Who would you want to handpick to play Winter Santiago?
I always say Winter Santiago will be a newcomer. I think she has to be. I think when an actor plays so many different roles in different television show films, they are fulfilling their profession, and you know, and I'm sure they're very excited about that. But there is something that doesn't happen on film with that person who has been on film and in front of the camera so many times. I want, when people see Winter Santiago, I want a jolt of lightning to shoot through your body. And I don't think I can get that if I give you the same old thing. So Winter Santiago and Midnight will both be newcomers if I have it my way. And Lana Santiago and Ricky Santiago, they'll be A-listers. They'll be stars that, you know, make people, you know, feel like, yep, this is it. That's familiar. That's right. That's my man. That's, you know, that's my girl, you know, that kind of thing. But Winter and Midnight, I think they need to be fresh.
That's my last question. Is there anything that you want people to know about you or your work that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share?
My books are to be read by each individual soul individually. And you just need to experience it and let it happen to you. But I will never, ever, ever put out a book, even though people say never, that's not at the top of my excellence. I will never, ever do it. I will never, ever give the public a book that they can consider filler or just a paycheck for Souljah. No, never. I'm telling you, when I give you Life After Death, I'm giving you excellence, and you need only to discover it for yourself.
Thank you, Sister Souljah.
Thank you so much.
Have an awesome evening.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.
So after I did this interview with her, I wrote about it on Facebook, and I was like, yo, what I appreciate so much about her is I can be very excitable. I pulled it together better than I was, but if you're listening to the interview, you can still hear like I'm excited in speaking to her, but she's so calm and so even. And I appreciate the way that she speaks is very measured and that she doesn't adjust to my pace. She speaks in a way that is so, to me, so self-assured. Like I'm still in a phase of life where I'm just sort of like spinning around. Like sometimes I can be very much like a little top. I'm just spinning. I have some sense of direction, but I'm spinning to get there. But she strikes me as someone who's well-rooted, who isn't spinning. And I very much admire that trait in her. Thank you, Sister Souljah, for coming to visit Ratchet and Respectable. I hope that this film, The Coldest Winter Ever, makes it to theaters. But whenever this film comes out, I hope we can have her back on the show to talk about what will surely be a moment, capital M. So that is this week's episode of Ratchet and Respectable. I also just restocked the website with Don't Waste Your Pretty merch. So if you don't have a Don't Waste Your Pretty hoodie, they're still available in most sizes. So if you haven't picked up your hoodie or your red or pink Don't Waste Your Pretty mug or your second edition of Don't Waste Your Pretty, which is still re-airing on TV One. That's one of the reasons I love it being on TV One. They're going to re-air that thing as long as y'all keep watching it. If y'all keep watching it, they just going to play it every week from here till eternity. If you need some Ratchet and Respectable in your life between now and next week's episode, you can follow me on social media at Demetria L. Lucas. And you can also pick up that merchandise at DemetriaLLucas.com. That's everything. We'll talk next week. Okay, bye.